50% जो काम हो रहा है वो स्क्वायर रूट ऑफ n एम्प्लॉयज़ कर रहे हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आपकी कंपनी में 16 लोग हैं, छोटी कंपनी है, तो 16 का स्क्वायर रूट 4.
हाँ.
तो आपकी कंपनी में 50% काम जो है वो 4 लोग कर रहे हैं, बाकी 12 लोग मिलके वो 50% कर रहे हैं. ह्यूमन बींग्स, वी एज इंडिविजुअल्स नो, वी आर यूजुअली फोकस्ड ऑन आवर सेल्व्स. What are my goals? My dreams, my ambitions, my salary package, my promotion. It's me, 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 me all the time. एक ना बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग एक्सपेरिमेंट मैं आपको बताता हूँ, बिकॉज दिस इज़ अ वेरी कॉमन कंप्लेंट दैट अ लॉट ऑफ organizations have. A lot of organizations say that
Hi everyone, my name is Ajay Singh Chaudhary and today I'm sitting with Gagandeep Singh. He's a psychologist for engineers. He works with different companies related with engineering and software. Gagan, why don't you introduce yourself and we'll start from there.
Sure, pleasure to be here, Ajay. My name is Gagandeep. I am a psychologist for engineers and I primarily work with software companies, tech consulting companies, and I teach engineers people skills.
Okay.
So I deliver programs on leadership, I deliver programs on client communication. I even teach leaders on how to engage in organizational politics at a senior level.
Okay. So Gagan, why especially engineers? Because I believe these kind of challenges would be faced by even people who are into sales, marketing, non-tech roles also. Are there specific challenges that generally engineers face?
So there are a couple of reasons why I chose engineers as my target audience. Well, one reason is because I am myself an engineer turned psychologist. So I've been working with engineers for more than 15 years now. So I know the psychology of engineers and engineering companies. The second reason is that engineers usually are very logical thinkers. They are very good problem solvers. They are very technical. But when it comes to complex human relationships, they struggle a lot. So they would know how to write code on a laptop, but they would often struggle to negotiate with the clients. They would struggle with motivating junior team members, building a human connection with them. They would even struggle with politics at the senior level. So engineers usually just want to sit behind a laptop and fix technical problems. And this is my area of expertise. So I come in as a guide, as a trainer, and I teach them how to succeed with people skills so that companies don't lose business and clients.
Okay. Can you share some case studies wherein you had interventions with engineers and it has been able to help them? What was the approach that you followed? What was the impact?
Sure. So usually engineers, they are very logical thinkers. So they think in equations, they think in frameworks. So when I became a psychologist, the first thing I did was I created simple equations for leadership skills. So every leadership skill. So for example, let's say if a manager has to give some critical feedback to their juniors, it's a step by step formula that they need to follow. So I created formulas for pretty much every leadership skill, be it motivating team members, be it developing trust with junior team members, be it delivering critical feedback, or be it appreciation. So I created those formulas, and when I go into my training sessions, I teach engineers those formulas, and then we sit with them individually after the workshops, and we make them rehearse and practice those people skills so that they are not just learning in the brain, they are also practicing and bringing them into habits. So I've been working with engineers for the past 5 years. That's when my company started, although I've been delivering training since a decade. So I have worked with pretty much senior leaders from all tech giants. So be it Apple, Google, Facebook, Tesla, Microsoft, you name it. I've worked with them. And this pattern of struggle with people skills is common across all professions, but it becomes really, really apparent and important with engineers and coders. So another thing that I have observed with engineers is that they know they struggle with people skills. And usually when trainers come in, a lot of companies have these people trainings happening, leadership trainings happening. Uh, a lot of companies organize these sessions. What I have observed is that a lot of times these trainers that come in, the trainings are just cut, copy, paste, and they are industry agnostic. So when we work with engineers, we make sure that we are using their lingo, all the case studies, all the material that's given to them, it's relevant to their organization, their industry. And what we have seen is that a lot of times these engineers, they know that they struggle with people skills, they struggle with politics, they struggle with communication, they are introverted. So we don't poke at this weakness. Instead, we encourage them, we teach them mathematical frameworks, and once they see that it's not a subjective art, it's a science which has step by step formulas, and we handhold them, we sit with them, we coach them, we make them rehearse those conversations, difficult conversations, then they start to pick up really, really fast. So one very good thing about engineers is that if you give them a formula, they will apply it. Yeah. So it's just a matter of time before they start using those formulas, and then they are able to see drastic results. So they become very assertive leaders. We've seen them become very good communicators with clients. We've seen them massively increase organizational revenues just by building those relationships. So that's a very good thing about engineers that I really appreciate.
Okay. Gagan, apart from this, I want to focus on three different topics
Yep.
in this podcast. So the first one is the first time managers. I
Mm.
think they generally face a lot of challenges in managing their team,
Yep.
in ensuring that their team is motivated while also not pushing them too much so that they people feel burnout.
Mhm.
Um, how do you feel that first time managers can really enhance their skill people related skills or team management skills in a very short period of time, and what are the specific challenges that they face, if you can share from the sports psychology POV?
Sure. So just for the viewers, because I am not sure how many of them know about sports psychology.
Yeah.
So sports psychology is the branch of psychology that deals with performance enhancement. So I have my master's in sports psychology.
Okay.
Uh, it's a very, very interesting science because it evolved from military psychology. So early in 1900s, in early 1900s, there were a lot of wars going on, and countries wanted to give their soldiers an edge over enemy forces. So they invested a lot in R&D, and they designed certain tools and techniques which would help the soldiers perform better in those combat situations. So a lot of tools and techniques were developed for enhancing focus, for improving motivation, for managing stress, for building relationships between team members, improving communication between them. So a lot of tools were created. In fact, a lot of tools were borrowed from India, especially those around breathing techniques and stress management techniques. So those tools were applied on military professionals, and they were very powerful. And and they were so powerful that slowly they started becoming popular. International athletes started using those tools. And this is where the science, from being very secretive and initially it was being used only for a bunch of soldiers, it started becoming popular and athletes started adopting it.
Okay.
And once athletes started adopting it and they saw phenomenal results in their performance, the science blew up. It started being called as sports psychology, although it's just performance psychology. And now it's being used everywhere. So it's not just in sports and military. Sports psychology is also being used in corporates because today's organizations are very, very dynamic. Employees work under very tight deadlines. They are always under pressure. They have to deliver. So corporates use sports psychology a lot. Schools have started using sports psychology for teaching students how to learn very quickly. Universities have adopted the same frameworks as to how do you prepare for a big exam, how do you enhance focus. In fact, how do you even build a relationship with your teacher and become their favorite. So all of these techniques are very, very powerful and they can be applied instantly. So you apply them right now and you'll be able to see results. Because in combat, you don't have enough time, right? So sports psychology is that branch of science that deals with enhancing performance in the moment. And now that it's become so famous, it's also being started to be called as performance psychology. So some people call it sports psychology, some people call it performance psychology, some people even call it sport and performance psychology, but it's basically the same thing.
Got And just coming back to my question
Yeah.
earlier, so first time managers,
Yeah.
so as I mentioned that they face certain specific challenges. Do you see any parallel with the first time captains in different teams with
Mhm.
the first time managers?
Yeah.
And are there some parallels that you can kind of draw from there?
Absolutely. So whenever people are usually promoted to a managerial position, they are before that they are individual contributors. And that's the technical term that's been used in tech companies and software companies. So individual contributors, the best individual contributors are usually promoted, okay, to a managerial position. So before that, they had to be exceptional coders, and they had to be technically very good. They had to deliver on the ground, and that's what made them the manager. But as soon as they become a team lead or a manager or a first time manager, their role has to change. So instead of sitting behind the laptop and doing everything themselves, they have to get stuff done through others.
Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of first time managers struggle with, because they know how to do the stuff. They may not know how to get it done through others. And a lot of times they need to have difficult conversations with their junior team members. They need to appreciate them. They need to provide psychological safety. They need to delegate work, develop the talent, groom the talent, even retain the talent. And all of this is completely different from what they were doing probably one day
Yeah.
before as an individual contributor. So because those deliverables change, they also need to change their behaviors, the behavioral patterns. And that's the biggest challenge. So switching from being an absolutely technical person to a partially technical and mostly managerial person. So that's a big challenge that first time managers face.
Okay. But most of the good companies generally have some managerial development programs also.
Yeah.
So with those programs, some of these things, themes around say psychological safety,
Yes.
providing right kind of feedback in a proper manner, also ensuring that the team is motivated, and all those themes are covered.
Yeah.
What are the different issues you generally find with the managerial development program that we see in corporate?
Mhm. There are a lot of good things that are happening in the program. So I've studied in the US, I have worked in the US, I have studied in India, I have worked in India, and I've seen pretty much all types of trainings that are available in the market. I think a lot of them are doing good things,
Okay.
and that's why those trainings work. So when it comes to the delivery of training sessions, the good thing is that people know what works, what the format should be. A lot of times what they struggle with is that trainings give us cognitive clarity.
Okay.
We know the best practices, but oftentimes they miss out on the habit change part. So let's say if I am a first time manager and I am trained on giving psychological safety to my team members, my juniors. Now, one of the ways to give psychological safety to your team members is to just sit with them every day, build a connection with them, have small talk, ask them questions about what's going on in your life. That's something that a lot of engineers run away from. They don't want to do that. So when the trainings happen, when a trainer comes in, they deliver a session, engineers now know that I have to do this every day, but they are not able to practice it. So what a lot of training companies are not able to do is change that clarity into habit.
Okay.
So what our organization usually does is that immediately after the training sessions, individual coaching starts. So we literally sit with each participant, make them rehearse all those difficult conversations, all those easy conversations, all those client negotiations, so that when they walk into that actual conversation, they are not surprised, they are not shocked, and they don't forget. So we make them rehearse so much that they can't get it wrong now.
Okay.
So that's something that really works well with engineers, and engineers need a lot of practice because they're usually wanting to avoid meeting people. They want to be on the laptop. So with engineers, you need a lot of practice, and usually these interventions go on for at least 1 to 2 months on one competency before you start teaching them something else.
Okay. Uh, during your interventions, I think coaching is also an important part.
Yeah.
And you have coaching for anything from say 2 months to 6 months.
Mhm.
Like, what is the importance of coaching in changing behavior? If you can talk about that part.
I think coaching is a very interesting intervention. It's probably the most transformative one also because it provides people safe space to open up. So when I am in a training program with a bunch of colleagues, some of them are juniors, some of them may be seniors, some of them may be my competitors within the same department. It's not easy for senior leaders to open up. Right? They may be learning a lot of stuff, but they may not open up, they may not become vulnerable. So group training sessions or group workshops have that limitation.
Yep.
They introduce frameworks, but if a person has a very personal doubt, very personal question they want to ask, and let's say they are not getting along well with their manager or with their super boss or with their junior team members, those questions need to be answered one to one. So what coaching does is it provides people with a safe space where they can come in, they share their concerns, and the coach gives them the right tools, makes them practice, makes them rehearse those conversations, and then they go back and they start applying it with their specific problematic employee. So I think coaching is very, very powerful in that sense that people can open up. Second, I think is that coaching also is a means to psychological safety. And most people are very nice people. Most employees that I have worked with, they're genuinely nice people who want to change. But a lot of times that change is not easy. From a biological standpoint, human beings are creatures of habit, and habits exist because they helped us survive in the jungles 50,000 years back, 500,000 years back. And habits helped us conserve energy, habits helped us stay away from predators, and each person has their own personality. And because of this, it's not easy for people to change. That's why sometimes you may meet a very old friend after 10 years and you may say, hey, you're just the same.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not easy for people to change. So what coaching does is it provides them with a psychologically safe space where they can be nudged slowly.
Okay.
You can't push people too much. If you push too much, then people break down. So you nudge them, you guide them, you encourage them. You have to give them a lot of encouragement. 80% has to be encouragement and 20% has to be challenge. Right? You have to push them and uh, you have to push them out of their comfort zones. So coaching does that also. That 80% of encouragement that is needed, that confidence that's needed to build a new skill, that comes through coaching. That doesn't come through group sessions.
So Gagan, generally most of the companies have issue when it comes to both identifying the right talent to be promoted as managers. तो एक तो वो issue रहता है, दूसरा issue to really manage them, to develop them. At both these levels, what do you feel are the main challenges, and how should company identify and then develop talents in-house if they want to do that?
I agree with you. Identifying good managers and retaining them, it's a tough ask. There's a very interesting formula, or there's a very interesting concept. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Price's Law.
अच्छा.
सो प्राइसेस लॉ क्या कहता है? प्राइसेस लॉ ये कहता है कि अगर एक कंपनी में एन नंबर ऑफ एम्प्लॉइज है, देयर आर एन नंबर ऑफ एम्प्लॉइज इन अ कंपनी, 50% ऑफ प्रोडक्टिविटी कम्स फ्रॉम स्क्वायर रूट ऑफ एन.
Okay.
तो 50% जो काम हो रहा है वो स्क्वायर रूट ऑफ एन एम्प्लॉइज कर रहा है. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर आपकी कंपनी में 16 लोग हैं, छोटी कंपनी है, तो 16 का स्क्वायर रूट 4.
हाँ.
तो आपकी कंपनी में 50% काम जो है वो 4 लोग कर रहे हैं. बाकी 12 लोग मिलके वो 50% कर रहे हैं.
Okay. But
High
in your
performance.
practice also you have seen this?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. This ratio holds really well. And जैसे जैसे कंपनीज बड़ी होती हैं, the number of employees who are average and mediocre, it increases.
क्या?
तो अगर आपकी कंपनी थोड़ी सी बड़ी हुई, let's say 100 लोगों की कंपनी है, square root of 100, 10 people will be giving you 50% of productivity. वो हाई परफॉर्मर्स होंगे जो मैक्सिमम सेल्स कर रहे होंगे, मैक्सिमम ऑपरेशंस कर रहे होंगे, दे विल बी योर हाई परफॉर्मर्स, दे विल बी significantly exceeding other people, right? Because they're intrinsically driven towards that work. तो 100 लोग हुई कंपनी में, 90 लोग मिलके उतना जितना काम करेंगे जितना वो 10 लोग कर रहे हैं. So that's Price's law, and it's a very harsh reality of human behavior, because different people are motivated by different things. इनफैक्ट बहुत लोग मेरे से पूछते हैं कि लेजी एम्प्लॉयज़ के साथ क्या करें. तो मेरा जवाब यही होता है कि मेरे आज तक के प्रैक्टिस में मैंने एक भी इंसान ऐसा नहीं देखा जो मोटिवेटेड ना हो. शायद वो काम के लिए मोटिवेटेड नहीं है, पर इवन इफ यू पिक द लेजीएस्ट पीपल दैट यू सीन, यू विल सी वो किसी ना किसी फील्ड में बहुत ज्यादा मोटिवेटेड होंगे. तो वो उस फील्ड में उतना एफर्ट मारेंगे जितना आपका मोटिवेटेड एम्प्लॉय कंपनी में मार रहा है एफर्ट. It's just that organizations are paying money. So it's better to have people who are motivated towards work because it gives you monetary rewards. तो square root of n, Price's law, is a very very critical factor. मोस्ट कंपनीज यही करती हैं. मोस्ट कंपनीज के जितने भी प्रोग्राम्स होते हैं, स्पेशली हाइपो प्रोग्राम्स होते हैं, हाई पोटेंशियल एम्प्लॉयज़ के लिए प्रोग्राम्स होते हैं, ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम्स होते हैं, रिटेंशन प्रोग्राम्स होते हैं, स्पेशल करियर पाथ्स जो बनाए जाते हैं, वो इन्हीं स्क्वायर रूट ऑफ एन लोगों के लिए बनाए जाते हैं.
ओके.
तो ट्रेनिंग्स यूजुअली कंपनीज सबके सब एम्प्लॉयज़ को नहीं देती हैं, बिकॉज इट्स वेरी कैपिटल इंटेंसिव, और बहुत एफर्ट जाता है, बहुत पैसा जाता है, बहुत टाइम जाता है. तो दे डोंट डू दैट. सो व्हाट दे विल डू इज दे विल पिक देयर टॉप परफॉर्मर्स and they will give them those training sessions, those behavioral interventions, so that they accelerate very quickly, and then they focus on retaining them. A lot of other people, it's welcome attrition. They let people go. They are supposed to come and go. So that doesn't hurt organizations. What hurts organization is losing talent which is good. So one of the ways of identifying is you create a system of hypo identification, which a lot of big companies have formal systems of identifying hypos, where they take managerial feedback लेते हैं, super manager से feedback लेते हैं, employees के performance ratings देखते हैं. इन सबको club करके they identify कि कौन से लोग ऐसे हैं जो बहुत अच्छा perform भी कर रहे हैं और जो next level के role के लिए भी fit है. तो वो सिर्फ performers अच्छे नहीं है, उनमें potential भी है कि अगर उनको कल को promote किया जाता है तो वो नए role में fit होंगे कि नहीं होंगे. So most companies have decent formal programs where they identify those hypos, they give them good incentives, they give them a good career path, which is accelerated, and then they focus on retaining that cohort.
Okay.
एक ना बहुत interesting experiment मैं आपको बताता हूँ, because this is a very common complaint that a lot of organizations have. A lot of organizations say that it's very hard to retain people these days. People switch jobs very quickly.
Yeah.
And Gen Z folks are very very tough to manage. How do you retain them? How do you retain high potential employees? Which is partially right, but it's mostly a myth. There was this very interesting experiment done on monkeys.
Okay.
And I think it was Harlow's experiment. I have to go back and check that name of the scientist. So what they did was, in Harlow's experiment, they separated baby monkeys from their mothers. And then those baby monkeys were put in front of two artificial robotic mothers. One mother was made out of cloth to give physical comfort, because monkeys usually cling to their mothers physically. And the second artificial mother was made out of wire, and it had a small bottle attached to it which would give out milk. So literally monkeys had to choose between one mother. Would they go to the one with made out of cloth for physical comfort, or would they go out and spend more time with the mother which was providing milk, but it was not providing any physical comfort? What do you think would have happened in that experiment?
I think the monkey would go for the milk.
Milk?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what most people thought. That because it's like a tangible
Yep.
benefit that they are getting out of it, they would go there. Not only did monkeys spend more time with the cloth mother, they ended up spending 22 hours out of 24 hours with the cloth mother. And they would just go and hug that cloth mother. And only when they would get extremely hungry
Hmm.
would they go to the other mother, suck some milk, and then come back to the cloth mother. Which meant that for monkeys and for humans, because humans and monkeys have very similar behavioral patterns, psychological safety is more important than benefits.
Hmm.
We want love, we want care, we want encouragement, we want nurturing, we want empathy. And when we get that, then we think about other things.
Okay.
So when you apply this concept to employees also, na, employees don't leave organizations very easily because it's a very stressful process to go into a new company,
Yes.
build yourself up, build your reputation, and make a name for yourself. It takes years. But why a lot of people leave organizations is because they don't feel that psychological safety with their bosses. It's a very famous quote that employees leave their bosses, not the companies. So so of course they would leave for money if the money being offered in the market is significantly more, like
Okay.
30%, 40%, 50% more, then of course it makes sense to switch from a company to another. But most of the times that's not the case. Employees leave because they are not challenged enough, they are not motivated enough, they are not supported enough. And these are all people skills. Like no one knows how to give psychological safety. So even managers don't know how to build that connection. And then when they are not able to build that connection, people don't feel supported, they leave.
Okay.
So one of the most powerful ways in which you can retain employees and save a lot of money for your organization is just connect with your employees, sit with them, spend time with them, ask them what's going on in your life. And you don't have to fix anything for them. You just have to show that you care. And then they will stick to you because then you will be the cloth mother for them.
But Gagan, showing care seems to be a very fuzzy concept. Who do you feel are the responsible folks for that? Is it like the reporting manager, HR, or someone else? And what are the, I would say, top three things that can be done in that space to
First
really
is
show
the
that
HR.
care?
First is the reporting manager always.
Okay.
Because for an employee, culture is their manager. The experience that a manager gives to an employee, that becomes the company culture for the employee.
Yes.
So no matter how good the policies, if the manager is not supportive, for an employee the experience is bad.
Hmm.
Similarly, if the policies are not very supportive, but if a manager is very supportive,
Hmm.
then employees stay.
Okay.
So first person who should be responsible for this is your manager. That's why managers need a lot of training on psychology, on leadership. um, but here's where a lot of people get it wrong. A lot of managers confuse psychological safety with niceness.
Okay.
Now, human beings are herd animals. We like to follow leaders. We like to follow strong, competent, assertive leaders.
Hmm.
But if a manager is only nice and they do not have that personality, don't have that assertiveness, they don't have that confidence, and they are nice because it's easy to be nice and they can't have those difficult conversations with people, then people leave. So a lot of times managers come to us and they say, hey, if I'm too nice, I'm taken for granted.
Okay.
If I am too harsh, they become resistant and they leave. So what should I do? So the idea is, as a leader, you need to be strong, you need to be competent, you need to be emotionally stable, and you need to be a role model for people. And being a role model means that yes, you are a strong personality, but you also care. So both the things, the feminine side and the masculine side, both of them have to come together for an employee to feel safe.
Hmm.
If you are just nice, it's a feminine trait. You miss that masculine side. If you are just assertive and overly harsh, that's just masculine side. So human beings need, right? We need both. Most people have both parents, right?
Yes.
Mother and father. So it's the same for organizations as well. You need your manager to act like a mother sometimes who's very caring when the need arrives, and also like a father who's stereotypically very challenging, and when the need is there, they are able to assert themselves and push them.
Okay. So Gagan, very briefly, just want to check on one thing.
Yeah.
I've seen some managers who have been super tough.
Hmm.
Their team members have cried because of that. Some have also left the organization. But some of these managers have been able to get the work done. When they look back, many times they feel that I have learned a lot in that phase. So, do you feel that bad managers also have a important role in developing a talent? Do you agree with that in any way?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
So is there any good side to the bad manager?
Yes, I think primarily what you're asking me is, are bad experiences necessary for employees to grow?
Hmm. Yeah.
And definitely yes. And there's a lot of deep psychology there.
Okay.
Human beings generally, we are more receptive to pain. So when we are in pain, we pay attention. And that is why you would see a lot of managers use authoritative style to push people. Uh, so people learn a lot through negative emotions, but that doesn't mean that's the only way.
Okay.
Uh,
But I think
and
most of the organization would feel because it is working, and the manager will also feel that it is working. So I should just continue with that. I'm able to
it
get the
works
result.
in the short term. So
Okay.
here's the thing. Here's the thing which we need to know about the human mind, and here's some neuroscience. When when an individual is under stress, their fight or flight gets activated.
Okay.
We are animals. We
Mm.
have fight, flight, freeze, and fawn responses. So these responses get activated when we are under extreme stress. So during that time, problem solving is the key focus. So if my manager comes to me and starts shouting at me and says, "You have to finish this work by 12 today," I will finish it because of the hyper focus and that fear response.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when people are in their fight or flight mode, their advanced thinking skills shut down.
Hmm.
Because their brain thinks that, okay, I am in the jungle, lion has come, I need to fight. So their creative side will shut down for some time.
Okay.
So even though they will be able to focus and get the work done, they would not be able to do deep work around that work, think creatively, think in an innovative manner, think in a way that would make something better in the long term.
Hmm.
So because it has short term gains for the managers think that being harsh works. No, in the long term it doesn't, because people will under fear do the work for you once, maybe twice, maybe thrice. From the fourth time, they will come up with some other way to deal with your harshness. So your creativity, your combined creativity of the organization will start dying if the managers are too harsh and they don't give that safe space for people to just relax and think of new ideas. In fact, there is a very interesting theoretical concept by Barbara Fredrickson. I think they are very famous in the world of positive psychology. And it's a build and broaden model, which says that when you are experiencing positive emotions, your mind opens up, it broadens, so you are able to come up with new ideas. राइट, बहुत बार होता है कि
Yep.
हम काम कर रहे होते हैं, काम फिक्स नहीं हो रहा होता, हम नीचे घूमने जाते हैं और आते हैं और 2 मिनट में काम आइडिया आ जाता है, राइट?
Yes.
वाई? बिकॉज वेन यू आर रिलैक्स्ड, योर माइंड ओपन्स अप. इट्स नॉट इन दैट फाइट और फ्लाइट फेज कि मेरे को शेर खाने वाला है. So cognitive energies, they spread out, and then you are able to think creatively and you are able to fix the problem. Coders के साथ ये बहुत होता है. Deadline है, नहीं कर पाते, they are not able to fix some code. 2 मिनट के लिए नीचे जाएंगे, they'll take a walk and bam, they come back and 1 मिनट में उनको idea आया and they're able to fix it. So positive emotions are extremely important for human beings to be creative, and also for your mental health. You can't survive without positive emotions in a company. So companies need to have those avenues and platforms to create and generate those positive emotions. Reward and recognition programs, employee engagement programs, fun activities, team building activities, they create a lot of positive emotion. That's why those things work.
Sure. Thanks for sharing about the first time managers and the managerial development process. I want to come to the second theme, which is about Gen Z. So this is a generation which is joining workforce for some years now, and many organizations are finding it difficult to really manage them. I believe that there are certain negative biases also against Gen Z. organizations feel that they are not really able to motivate them enough. The earlier levers of motivation, performance are not working for them. So, how do you see it, and why Gen Z are significantly different than, say, millennials or earlier generations, and why it is not, why all the same levers which were working earlier are not working now for them?
It's a very interesting question. If we look back, I think every generation makes fun of the future generations. It's
Because
a very human trait. We like to judge people and feel good about ourselves.
is it like we like to make fun of younger people? Is that the
It's
case?
easy, no?
Huh.
So usually you will see that millennials will complain about Gen Z.
Yes.
Gen X will complain about millennials.
Yes.
We've also had those shares of that share of criticism that millennials are like this. They're not as disciplined as previous generations used to be. They're not as resilient as previous generations
Yes.
used to be, and uh, and baby boomers used to make fun of Gen X.
Okay.
So every generation likes to look down upon the next generation because it usually makes us feel good.
Okay.
But at the same time, there are genuine challenges which need to be addressed. For example, for in case of Gen Z employees, especially those coming from big cities in India, metropolitan cities, they are usually comfortable financially. They come from stable backgrounds, big families. So if you've seen Maslow's hierarchy, there are 5 levels.
Yeah.
So the basic levels are safety, security, love, status, and then self-actualization, which is the purpose, which is the top one.
Yeah.
For Gen Z, first 4 levels are already completed.
Okay.
While for our generation or for our previous generations, they did not have that level of economic stability. So for them, because stability and survival were important, they would be willing to go through a lot of harshness just to keep their jobs. But in today's industry, people have multiple job offers. They come from stable financial backgrounds. So their physiological safety, um, their their food, shelter is taken care of. So level 1 is taken care of. Level 2, in terms of physical safety, they're taken care of. In case of love and relationships, that also pretty much every generation takes care of it. And status also, they're coming from decent background, so that level is also taken care of. They are only looking for level 5, which is self actualization, purpose, impact. That's what motivates them. And the methods which worked on the previous generations of coercion, of being authoritative, they will not work on them because that's not their need.
Okay.
What's their need? Their need is impact, challenge. They want creative projects. So a company now has to come up with ways to give them such projects where they feel engaged, which is also a very complex problem because companies are built on systems. You can't have creative projects coming every day.
Yes.
Job is supposed to be repetitive and boring. So how do you retain Gen Z employees who are looking for impactful creative work without disrupting organizational systems which need a lot of repetition? That's the question.
Okay.
And it has a solution.
So, Gagan, can you please explain Maslow hierarchy and what are the different levels which are there, and why only self-actualization is something that most of the Gen Zs are really concerned about, and that is the only lever which most of the companies can use to motivate them?
Okay, so Maslow's hierarchy is basically a very interesting concept. It's a framework on human motivation.
Okay.
So, according to Maslow, Abraham Maslow, there are 5 levels of human motivation. And as one level gets fulfilled, people move on to the next one. So, the first level of motivation is of physiological needs, which is food, water, and air. So, दैट्स द फर्स्ट थिंग पीपल वांट टू फुलफिल. सबसे पहले अगर उनको भूख लग रही है, प्यास लग रही है, उन्हें खाना चाहिए. ओके, उसके बाद वो कुछ और बात करेंगे. सो वंस दैट लेवल इज अचीव्ड, द सेकेंड लेवल इज दैट ऑफ सेफ्टी एंड सिक्योरिटी.
Okay.
सो जब पेट भर गया इंसान का, फिर वो सोचेगा कि मैं मेरे ऊपर छत है कि नहीं है, मैं सेफ हूँ कि नहीं हूँ. अगर कोई कल को बीमारी आती है तो कैन आई प्रोटेक्ट माई सेल्फ. अगर कोई प्रिडेटर आता है, कोई एनिमी आता है, तो कैन आई प्रोटेक्ट माई सेल्फ. सो दैट इज फिजिकल सेफ्टी. In organizational context, this is basically job security, job stability. कल को मेरे पास कुछ है कि नहीं है, बैंक बैलेंस है कि नहीं है, मैं मेरे पास जॉब ऑफर्स है कि नहीं है, मार्केट कैसी चल रही है. So job stability is second level. Third level is social needs, which is basically friends, family members, support in organizational relationships, colleagues, mentor providing psychological safety. So that's the third level. Once that is also fulfilled, people want level 4, which is status. कि मेरे पास जॉब टाइटल कैसा है, डू एम आई एट अ हायर पोजीशन, डू आई हैव अ बिग हाउस, इज माई कार बिगर देन माई नेबर्स कार. So status and self-esteem is level 4. So level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. And when level 4 is also fulfilled, the last thing that people want when they've achieved all of these things is self-actualization, which is level 5, which is basically what was I born for? What's the meaning of life? What's my purpose? What should I fulfill as a human, as an individual? What can I do to reach my peak potential? That's level 5. So, as people move up the hierarchy, their needs change, their priorities change. Now, if you look at Gen Zs, especially coming from metropolitan cities with stable families, you will see level 1 is taken care of. They have access to food, water, air. Level 2 is also taken care of. They have stability in life. There are so many companies. There is so much war for talent that usually engineers, when I work with them, they have multiple offers in hand. So that job stability, financial security is also there with them. Level 3, friends, family members, relationships. This generation is very expressive. They know how to nurture relationships. They, of course, every generation knows how to nurture relationships. So that bit is also taken care of. We have our support systems.
Yeah.
Most human beings have good enough support systems in family or friends or their partners. So that is also taken care of. Level 4 is self-esteem or status. A lot of them come from big families, stable families. They have access to houses, they have access to cars, they have access to all the amenities in life. And a lot of people have made things easy for our society, right?
Yep.
We have a lot of convenience in life. So as a result, that status also it's taken care of. So the only thing left for them, the only desire is now self-actualization, challenging projects, creative projects, impact in the organizational work that they do, and continuous continuous upskilling. So that's what they want. That's the only thing left. And managers don't know this framework usually. So they have been using certain level of leadership styles forever, and they think that the same style will work on them,
I
which
think they
worked
are
on previous generations.
they are mostly still using coercion. They are mostly still pushing them that if you don't do job, you won't be kind of promoted. So your status might be
Affected, yes.
affected, or you won't have the stability in the organization. Those sort of things.
Correct. And because they don't care about those things as much, they don't listen to that. They are not influenced by that.
Yes.
So the solution is, and this is something this is very scientific, which I always talk about. Gen Z will always be smarter in terms of knowledge. A, because Darwin's theory, every generation is smarter than the previous one. And second, they've had access to internet. They have access to information. So information wise, knowledge wise, you can't compete with them because they know more. But the time that they have spent on their phones and laptops, they have not spent in building human relationships as much.
Okay.
They have not interacted with human beings a lot. They are not the folks who've gone out in the sunlight, been outdoors, talking to people, negotiating with people, being assertive with people, getting into conflicts and getting out of them. So the time that they have spent on the phones, our generations spent on meeting with people.
Yes.
So in terms of habits, in terms of people skills, we are better than them. So we can exercise those skills to become role models.
Okay.
We can show them good habits. We can show them disciplined behavior. We can show them how we are able to command respect be assertive in front of people, be nice, kind, generous. So all of those people skills become great motivators for Gen Z employees. They genuinely look up to people who are able to depict those people skills, because a lot of times they struggle with that.
Yeah.
And they may not be upfront, and they may not come to you and say that I'm struggling with this. But that time that we've spent outdoors building those skills, that's something that they really desire. So if a manager wants to retain Gen Z employees, they need to be a role model leader. They need to have competence also. Of course, it may not be as brilliant as the juniors, but they need to be competent. They need to have good disciplined habits. They need to be respectable as a professional. And if you are all of those things, Gen Z employees will stay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Gagan, what you said was coming from the perspective of employers, coming from the perspective of generally the people managers. But if I look at from the perspective of Gen Z, many of them feel that they have been marked as lazy, as someone who is not serious about their career, lacking certain people skills and those sort of thing. What is the one advice that you will give to Gen Z so that they can have, I would say, better perception or more success at workplace, which is still dominated by millennials or the earlier generations, and those are the people who are taking short. So their career to a large extent is dependent upon how they like them or don't like them. So what is the advice that you will give to them?
It's a very interesting question. I think it all comes down to awareness in relationships.
Okay.
Now, human beings, we as individuals, know, we are usually focused on ourselves. What are my goals?
Hmm.
My dreams, my ambitions, my salary package, my promotion,
My purpose.
my purpose. It's me, 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 me all the time.
Hmm.
Now, the smartest influencers in the world, they always focus on other people.
Okay.
So let's say if my stakeholder is you,
Hmm.
you are my stakeholder. Instead of me thinking about my promotion, let's say you're my boss, a smart person would think about how can I get my boss promoted?
Yes.
And if he gets promoted, of course he will promote me. So the idea is, with human beings in general, our focus should always be outwards.
Okay.
So instead of thinking about what I want from this world, what I want from my manager, what do I want from my company, start thinking about what does the company founder want? What does my manager want? What does my manager's manager want? And then my purpose becomes that I should help them achieve their goals. So that's, some people will call it emotional intelligence. Some people will call it relationship management. Some people might even call it manipulation.
Okay.
Some people will call it influence. It's all pretty much the same thing.
Hmm.
So now the problem with Gen Z is, because they spend so much time on laptops and smartphones, they are not able to scan the behavioral traits of their decision makers. And therefore they miss out on those opportunities.
Hmm.
So if I am a Gen Z employee, I should focus on building a relationship with my manager and helping them succeed. That's number one. Number two is that a lot of Gen Z employees come from comfort, from stable households where they've had a comfortable life.
Hmm.
And because of that, a lot of times when there is some amount of competition or harshness at workplace, they find it difficult to be resilient. In fact, one of the most popular programs that companies come to us for is a mental toughness program for Gen Z employees.
Okay.
That's the most popular one
Hmm.
that's demanded as on date by a lot of companies. So, as a Gen Z employee, my job should be build that level of mental toughness, that if my manager is coming and they are also frustrated, they are also dealing with life problems. A lot of times, if let's say if I have a very senior manager working with me, maybe they are going through midlife crisis.
Yes.
So when they come to me with their frustrations, my job is to not make it about me,
Hmm.
and get frustrated and say, hey, my manager is very harsh. My job is to give them comfort so that they feel safe, and then I get my work done. So that mental toughness to be able to withstand the frustrations and feelings of other people, that's something that Gen Z needs to learn. In fact, that's one of the reasons breakups are so common these days.
But Gagan, many Gen Z would say that this is almost like accepting the emotional abuse that they are being hurled at, and they might be so the manager might not be behaving really well with them, may not be respecting them. So in that case, do you feel that this is a right strategy to do what I would say a lot of millennials have been doing for a long period of time, putting up with this kind of behavior, and to some extent encouraging this, or at least accepting it, and I think that can also perpetuate these kind of behavior from the manager's side. So do you feel
Absolutely.
that this can also be counterproductive, or
Absolutely. If it's done to an extreme, definitely it can become very counterproductive for people. And I've seen that happen with a lot of people. Now the thing is, here's a very interesting thing. Most employees, if you go and talk to them, they will very easily label their manager as toxic.
okay,
My manager is toxic.
हाँ,
Like you said, my manager is abusive.
yes,
Right. If you go to the manager, you know what the manager will say? This employee is lazy.
yes,
So relationships are always two-way.
Hmm.
And maybe there'll be some 50-50 distribution of mistakes, maybe there'll be 80-20, but it's never 100-0.
got
So if I need to get my work done, I should first fix the 20% problem in me
clear.
and then expect the other person to fix the 80% problem in them. So that's ownership. So, uh, so when we talk to managers, they say this person is lazy, they don't take ownership. When we go to the employees, they say this person is abusive. So it's basically relationship management. And relationship management no comes down to feelings management. So when I see Ajay is not in a good mood, my job is to make him feel comfortable.
Hmm.
And when I see that Ajay is in a good mood, then I can go and demand something that I want.
Yeah.
So that's just basic plain emotional intelligence. I am not saying that we should put up with any kind of abuse. Never ever. But research says only 1% of people are actually psychopathic.
Got
So when people think that, oh, my manager is a psychopath, most of the times it's not true. Statistically, it's only 1%. So not 100% of managers, not 90% of managers are psychopathic. It's just that they are dealing with their own problems. And when they are dealing with their own problems, they may not know how to behave. They may not be trained. That is why you have leadership trainings for managers. And when they act out, I also get affected.
Okay.
So my job is to build that level of mental resilience and put my foot down sometimes also. Because if I just keep saying yes all the time, then my manager will not respect me. So here's a very powerful rule that you can use. This is my favorite one. It's called the 95-5 rule. 95-5 rule says 95% of times agree with your manager.
Okay.
So that they get a positive feeling when they look at you. Don't argue unnecessarily. If they say, oh, this document is not good, just say, okay, I'll fix it. When a client comes to you and says, this code is not up to the mark, say, all right, let me fix it for you. What do you want? So 95% of your times, whoever your stakeholder is, client, manager, wife, husband, parent, agree with them and manage their feeling. 5% of times, disagree with them, put your foot down on non-negotiables.
Yeah.
But that 5% can only happen when you have agreed 95% first. So you agree 95% of times. If you just divide it, 95 by 5 is basically 19:1. 19 yeses and then a no. So if your manager comes to you 19 times on an average, this is an average, say yes, 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 ma'am, yes, sir. Let me do this for you. Fix their feeling. And when they feel that they can trust you, they have a good rapport with you, after 19 times, say no. No, this is wrong. I want that appraisal. I want that promotion. I deserve that appreciation. I deserve that increment. So you put down your foot after those 19 times. So where people get it wrong is they will either be only rebellious, which doesn't work with human beings, or they will be overly nice and they will say yes all the time. No one likes a yes man or a yes woman. So that respect comes from that one no, but that one no has to come after 19 yeses. And there is one last thing. So this third element as well. I think it's basic habits. When millennials say Gen Z is not as disciplined, I think one of the things that any professional, be it any generation, Gen Z, millennial, whoever, basic professionalism. So let's say if you promise something as an employee, let's say if you promise your boss that I'm going to deliver this work by the end of the day, follow through on that action. That basic level of professionalism where you do what you promised, that is missing. And that's because people are not genuinely disciplined, and that causes a lot of negative emotion. So let's say I am the boss and you come to me and say, hey Gagan, I give that work to you by the end of the day. And when at the end of the day I go to you and you say, no, it'll take me one more day, that creates an unnecessary conflict. So basic professionalism where you plan out properly, you say, hey, I would need 2 days for this work, and then you deliver on the second day. So just keeping your promises, basic hygiene factors, basic discipline, that's what's most important for Gen Z.
So, Gagan, if I have to summarize what you said, I think there are the three things that Gen Z should focus on. The first thing is emotional awareness. Second part is mental toughness. And the last part is discipline and basic habits. So, I think if they take care of these three things, they can have a much better relationship with people who are coming from the millennial or Gen X generations and can have a better career.
They'll have phenomenal success because they're anyway smarter than us.
Okay.
So, yes, if they have all of these three traits, then they become unstoppable.
But do you feel that millennials are ready to accept that they are more smart?
Every generation knows that the next generation is smart,
Okay.
smarter.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that Gen Z is
And that
smarter
can
than
be
us.
one of the reason of backlash against Gen Z.
Probably, maybe people find it satisfying to put the generation down, but I feel every generation, it's Darwin's plain evolutionary theory. Every generation is supposed to be smarter than the previous one, which is true.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't compete with the smartness of my employees. I can't. They are smarter than me. They are more intelligent. They know more frameworks than I do. But I have to be a role model leader. Then they stay with me.
Okay. So, Gagan, quickly want to come to the third theme, which is about in a AI era, how do you ensure that your cognitive abilities are intact? Given that now most of us are not writing documents, we are not writing diaries and other things. We are just giving a prompt and based on that trying to create a solution of a problem, be it writing a document, policy making, and other things. Most of the companies are or professionals, students are using LLM models to write to solve problems. It has happened with few consulting firms also that they have created report solutions at a very large scale and just copy pasted it from LLM. So there is a habit coach, Mr. Rajan. What he's saying that initially we all of you us used to do a lot of physical activities, but with the emergence of knowledge worker, we have stopped doing physical activities. That's why we need gyms to do the physical activity. And now, given with the advent of LLM models, wherein we are not using our mind effectively, we would need interventions, we will need mental gyms to really use our mental abilities. So do you agree with that? And if you agree, then what are the ways through which we can still continue to ensure that we are cognitively active and we are not completely relying on LLM models?
I think they're absolutely right. Mind is just like any other muscle. It's use it or lose it. So let's say you go to the gym, you are using your muscles, so they're built up. you are exercising your brain so that those neurons are getting activated, so you build that muscle. And human beings need both. We need mental stimulation also, physical stimulation also. So that mental gym thing that you are mentioning, I think it's very very relevant. People would need that. And so basically what you're saying is, or what Mr. Ajan is saying is, that you need avenues for the brain to exercise itself.
Okay.
You need mental exercises for the brain, which is very true. We need that. In fact, what I recommend is, when people use AI, first of all, they have to use AI. If they don't use AI, they'll not
Yes,
survive.
definitely.
So they have to use AI. But before they start writing the prompt in that model, I think they should first try to think of the answer themselves and write down all the pointers so that their brain stays active. And then you write the prompt, whatever responses the model generates, you collate that response with the one that you thought earlier. In fact, I have been doing this forever. So whenever I read a book, I don't just read a book. For example, let's say I'm reading on emotional intelligence.
Okay.
I'll not just go through the paragraphs. Let's say there's a section where they say elements of emotional intelligence. I'll not start reading the paragraph immediately. I'll first close my eyes and think of the what the elements could be. I note them down and then I read the paragraph.
Okay.
So because the moment I start reading, my brain gets biased towards whatever is written. So it becomes shut. So before it becomes shut, I try to use my brain, keep it open, come up with some answers, and usually those answers match 80% with whatever is written. Some of the things may be extra also in the book, and sometimes there are things which I come up with which are not mentioned in the book. So before you write that prompt and before you get that response from AI, it's very, very important to first think from your perspective and then collate that knowledge with that of the prompt. So
Okay.
that's the right way of using AI and making sure that your brain muscles don't deteriorate over time.
Got it.
In
So,
fact, after 30, your IQ actually starts to dip.
okay.
Your brain muscles start deteriorating. So it's very, very important to keep your mind active, especially after 30.
Got it. So towards the end, if you want to share, I would say 3 books that anyone can read if they are interested into, say, performance psychology, sports psychology.
Okay, so you're asking for my favorite book or you're asking for sports psychology based books?
So I'm asking about books which I can read if I'm interested in performance psychology or sports psychology.
Okay. So one of my favorite books is a book by Dr. Jonathan Fader called Life as a Sport.
Okay.
And Dr. Jonathan Fader is a very, very famous sports psychologist based out of the US. And he has a very famous TED Talk also. So you can watch that TED Talk. And in that book, he's talked about how you can use sports psychology for managing stress, for finding inner motivation, for building disciplined routines in your life, and enhancing focus and performance. So, Life as a Sport is a book basically which means how do you live your life as an athlete. It's a very, very good book. If you want to learn more about sports psychology, I think that's a very good book. My all time favorite book, if you ask me, in general, is Man's Search for Meaning by Dr. Viktor Frankl. It's the whatever circle I roam around in, all my friends, all the psychologists that I hang out with, it's a recommendation that's usually made for psychologists to read. So it gives a very good insight on how you can use your life's purpose to come out of any difficult situation in life. And if you have that inner purpose in life, you have that direction, you can sustain really, really bad situations without breaking down. So, Man's Search for Meaning by Dr. Viktor Frankl, that's my all time favorite book. I think these two books I would like to recommend.
So Gagan, recently I met a bright young lady. She was applying for a role, and but she had a one condition that
Hmm.
Ajay, I would be working from home.
Yeah.
Though I understand there are some benefits of working from home and everything. What are the downside that you have seen when people work from home,
Hmm.
especially in the initial stage of their career? What are the issues because of that? And later on, when they become leader, are there some challenges there also?
Yeah, it's a very reasonable question. It's a very powerful question. It's very relevant in today's times. And I feel that in a work from home setup, every operational work can be accomplished successfully. You can do all the tasks.
Sure.
All the operational work can be done from home. In fact, you can do a lot of deep work also, because now you don't have to get ready in a very formal manner. You don't have to travel. You don't have to go into meetings. So you can do a lot of deep work.
You don't have to chit chat with people,
Yes,
say hi, hello, and all those things.
correct.
Yeah.
So operational work, all of it will get done
Hmm.
from in a work from home setup.
Got it.
But it has a very big downside, which makes it not worth it.
Okay.
And the downside is that when you are working from home, you are not interacting with people, you are not doing small chit chat, like you said, you are not having water cooler talks, you are not getting into conflicts, and as a result, you are not practicing people skills. And people skills are the most important skills at a senior level. So if you want to reach a senior manager level or a director level or a CXO level, then for those levels, people skills are absolutely essential. So work from home may not be a very good idea for people who want to be at those levels. But of course, not everyone has to be at that level. So if people have to stay in a mid-level role or a junior level role for most of their lives, they are okay with it. I would encourage work from home is fine.
So
But if you want to reach a very senior level, oh, you can't succeed without people skills at those levels. And therefore, going to workplace, engaging with people, getting into conflicts, practicing assertiveness, practicing politeness, learning how to influence different personalities, that becomes very crucial. And therefore, you should do that.
So based on that, can I say that especially for Gen Z, it becomes even more important. People who are getting into job market now, and people, as you mentioned, who might be also struggling a bit with the people skills,
Yeah.
and say stakeholder management, relationship building, and everything. In case they start their career with a work from home and continue with that for a longer period, I think it can be detrimental for their career.
Yes.
Okay.
Very detrimental, very dangerous. And they may become technically very superior, but they won't be able to influence masses. And then that becomes a problem.
Thanks, Gagan, for sharing all the insight. I think it was great to understand many of these organizational concept from sports psychology, performance psychology, POV, and understand about the experience that you have so far in different organizations and how first time managers, how Gen Z can really have I would say a better career in organizations. So it was great to have you here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ajay. Thank you for having me. And I'm grateful and I'm very honored to be a part of this podcast. And hopefully we can have more of these in the future.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.